I'm going to quickly start this video off by saying all the links in my description that are to the books that I'm going to be talking about. In this video, I'm going to do this retroactively to all my videos and all my videos in the future. All the links to the books are now going to be linked to bookshop.org. Bookshop.org is a company that is working with independent bookstores where when you buy from bookshop.org, you can either directly support an independent bookstore and it gives 30% of the profits to them, or if you don't have one in particular, the money that you spend, a percentage of it will go into a pool, which is then distributed to independent bookstores to help them operate and help them fight against the likes of Amazon. I love that. I love that I get to now put links to books that are now going to go to helping independent bookstores exactly how I want it to be. So links to all the books I'm going to be talking about are going to be in the description down below, and I'm going to retroactively do it to all of my videos. Let's get into this video. Originally, today's video wasn't going to be about Palestine, but after the travesty, which is now being dubbed the Flower Massacre, I felt once again I need to start giving you guys recommendations about books about and from Palestine. Links to all the books are going to be in the description down below. First up is 10 Myths About Israel by Ilan Pappé. This book is a really great book if you want to unlearn a lot of the lies or myths that have been spread in support of Israel, particularly around the founding of Israel and Israel's operations when it comes to themselves in warfare and their treatment of Palestinians. It's really great. Pappé is an amazing intellectual academic who has written many books about the Palestinian people and the effect that Israel has had on Palestinian people. I really recommend this book. It's also not the longest read and it's not the hardest read, so it's a really great book if you want to get the first insights into the myths around Israel, which you can then go on and read further more about. Number 2 is The 100 Years' War on Palestine. Again, this is a book I've already spoken about actually, but I want to reiterate how great this book is. Similar to the Ilan Pappé book, it goes more into the history of Israel, the history of Israel's occupation of Palestine, and gives you sort of the more historical look and the factual look into debunking a lot of the myths about Israel, talking about certain things like the formation of Israel and the way Israel was violent against Palestinians throughout the past century. So I really recommend this book as well. Again, not the hardest read, maybe a little bit more complex than the Pappé book, just because it's not broken down as much as Pappé's book is. It's more of a, obviously, historical look over 100 years, but I still think it's a very accessible book to read. The third recommendation is Salt Houses. Salt Houses is a fiction book, and if you like a book like Pachinko, which I really liked, which I read about 2 years ago, it's a multi-generational story about Palestinians and Palestinian family and families. It is a really great look at seeing the effects of the occupation over generations, talking about generational trauma. Again, very similar to how Pachinko also handles the effects of generational trauma on a family and the differences of the different people in that family. So again, and it's a fiction book, so if you're not really a person who reads so much nonfiction or struggles with nonfiction, I think Salt Houses is a really great book for you to pick up. My fourth recommendation is another fiction book, Mornings in Jenin. This was one of the first fiction books about Palestine that I read. It is, again, another book that's looking more so at what it's like living under occupation, what it's like being a refugee in your own land, essentially, because large parts of Palestine have become refugee camps for people and families who are displaced in the Nakba and Israel's subsequent wars on the people of Palestine and the surrounding countries. So again, this one's a more look at what it's like being in Palestine, in and under occupation from Israel. Again, very moving. It's at points a difficult read emotionally. But really, I highly recommend it. Again, one of the first fiction books I read from and about Palestine. And last but certainly not least, it's an Edward Said book, Culture and Imperialism. This is less so specifically focused on Palestine, but it is about Western culture and Western media, Western writing, etc. over history, and how it has played a part in enabling, facilitating, and reflecting Western imperialism. This is something we're seeing a lot nowadays, especially with what Israel is doing to Palestine, we're seeing a lot of media, we're seeing a lot of historical media being brought up, like contemporary historical media for the last 10, 20 years, being used as a way to justify Israel's atrocities in Palestine. You're seeing even Israel using photos that weren't actually of Palestine to try and make up a story about them helping Palestinians. We're also seeing people, looking at the media over the past 20 years, more or less since 9/11, and how it's demonized people in the Middle East and how that was used to essentially create a society that is okay with violence against Middle Easterners. Obviously, it's not specifically going to touch on that. It's kind of contemporary reading, but this book goes and looks at it for the entirety of Western imperialism. It goes back hundreds of years in its analysis as well, so I highly recommend it. It's an Edward Said book, and it's quite long, so it might be more of a chunkier read for you. If you're really interested in that topic specifically, I would go for that one. If you want something that's a little bit more focused on Palestine, I would go for the other ones. But obviously, as a Palestinian, this book does also touch on things that were used against Palestinians, and he reflects and relates it to Palestine at points. But yes, that's my recommendation from Edward Said, and it's not going to be a video of mine if it's not an Edward Said recommendation. So those are my 5 recommendations on books on and about Palestine. Again, that's not an exhaustive list. I will have a playlist of all of my videos about Palestine at the end of this video and on my homepage. The links to all these books are going to be in the description down below. Again, they are going to be linking to bookshop.org, which works with independent bookstores. So you don't need to feel bad about, buying it online, because the money will go and help independent bookstores, which is awesome. Furthermore, I'm going to put a link to an UNRWA donation page where, UNRWA that Western countries have cut off funding for because Israel have yet to show proof of UNRWA being complicit in some of Hamas's actions. But UNRWA are desperate for donations. They need those donations to continue to help Palestinian people, to give them food they're severely lacking, and even food that Israel will attack them over trying to get. But it is imperative that we can try and find ways to donate and help Palestine. Remember, if you can't help monetarily, if you can't buy the books down below, be sure to share the videos you watch, be sure to go and read articles, be sure you can try and broaden your horizons in any way that is money free, and be sure to spread the message with your friends and family to help them spread the message even further. Thank you for watching. I hope you read a great book today.